Hey everyone, we are live. Hi, I am Ben Bolter, and I am a chiropractor and a owner of a couple of clinics, and yeah, not a self-professed guru of this by any means, but definitely a profession of people in pain, really, to be honest. And I tend to do sort of a live video every couple of weeks, every couple of months, and hopefully try and answer some questions and touch on some topics that are quite interesting. So today's Instagram live is going to be purely based on you, on you as people, as you viewing in, and hopefully I can kind of answer a few questions that have been coming in. I've been advertising this video for the last sort of week or two. So obviously what's quite interesting is that we've got an awful lot of questions that have been coming through. I've got 5 questions that came through over the last week that people have asked me sort of random things, and I'm going to sort of touch upon. Hopefully I can answer them as honestly and as succinctly as I possibly can. I am opinionated, I'm a bit biased when it comes to some of this stuff. So, but if you do have any questions about back pain, or if you've got any questions about anything at all whilst this video is going on, feel free to drop me a message or a comment. I'll happily jump on and answer anything that comes through live. As I say, I've got a list of 5 questions that sort of came through over the last week, so I'll go through these first. If anything comes in whilst I'm going, then just let me know. So the first message I actually got was from a guy called Reggie, who actually doesn't follow my page, follows another page of one of the clinics. He actually asked a really obvious, simple question, which is why is my back pain worse in the morning, worse in the AM? Now, it's one of these things actually, when we start talking about terminology is a big part of how we kind of look at problems and deal with problems and try to understand what's going on with them. So if people turn around to us and say, oh, it feels stiff, it feels achy, it feels sore, those are really interesting little key words that kind of help tell us a little bit more about where the pain is actually coming from. So, and the same thing for time of day. Time of day is quite significant, especially early on when you meet a patient for the first time. Someone turns up and says, my pain is worse first thing in the morning as soon as I get out of bed, and it will often be associated with like a stiff type of pain. Instantly, what you know you're looking at from a practitioner point of view is that you're going to be looking top of your list. First thing you want to rule out, is it a joint problem? Is the joint stiff? Is it sore? Is it aching? Is it restricted? Because most patients, when they have back pain in the morning, it's because the joint is stiff and not moving as well as it should be. And that's because it's had all night to kind of seize up. Essentially, you've been sat in one position, you've been lying in one position in bed for the best part of 8 hours. So it's not the fact that the bed or the mattress has made it worse, because that's a lot of what people go to in their head. They kind of think, okay, what's the association, what's the trigger, and they'll jump to the mattress or the pillow. It's often not the case. Normally the problem has been in existence before that, and being rested and being in one position and being still for the best part of the last 8 hours is the thing that kind of makes it worse, and that's because it's more likely coming from a joint issue. So hopefully that answers that, Reggie, as to why it's kind of like more of a morning issue. It's quite common. A lot of, I'd say probably about 60 to 70% of patients that I see often come in and explain their back pain is worse in the morning. It gets better as the day goes on. Joints, like everything, they love movement, they love blood flow, so it's only natural the more you move them, the more blood you kind of circulate to that area, the better it gets, the more comfortable it feels. A second question I got asked was something a little bit controversial, it's in my word anyway. Someone asked, and I'm not going to name this person because I know that what they're trying to do is they're trying to elicit a reaction out of me, but I'm going to go for it anyway. Do you use the Y strap? Right. There are an awful lot of videos on social media, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. There's loads and loads of videos circulating now about chiropractors doing treatments and doing them live on Instagram Live or however they like. Some of the ones you come up against are something called the Y strap. Now, basically what this is a strap that kind of goes underneath the chin and underneath the base of the occiput, and there's a strap that comes up above the head. There's a set of handles, and the practitioner will essentially just give it a good tug. What I trained to do and what I qualified to do was to be able to be very specific about what I was trying to achieve. So if there was a certain joint or a certain area of the neck or the shoulders or the very, very base of the skull that I was trying to get to move, I can use my hands in order to locate and isolate that joint in order to make it move better. The Y strap for me is a bit of a cop-out. It's possibly a gimmick that's kind of translated and come across in other areas that people are using because it looks traumatic. It's got that what I call the shock value, and especially for things like social media. That stuff is clickbait gold, because everyone just looks at it and goes, "Oh, that's amazing! That's something I want to do." It's just poor form. If you're a chiropractor using the Y strap, in my opinion, I think there are better ways to do what you're trying to achieve. You can learn how to be a better adjuster, be a lot more specific about what you're trying to manipulate, and if you're looking to just perform some form of distraction techniques, then use some distraction techniques. Don't feel like you have to try and use a Y strap to pretty much grow your Instagram page, because I'm telling you right now that the benefit you're getting is not specific. If you've got patients coming in that wants treatment for this, you can't guarantee that what you're treating is that. You could be treating every single joint around the problem but not treating the problem itself. So I'm not a massive fan of Y straps, and I know this person who sent me this question is solely looking for me to bite, and I have bitten like a great white shark. Quite happy to dive into this topic because it's something that I really stand strongly against. I'm not a massive fan of gadgets and technology and things that increase sales tactics and clickbait for Instagram pages. I like what I'm trained to do. I like to use my hands. These are my tools. I've got a few other things. My thumb now bends significantly back, so I've got a plastic knobbler that helps me do a lot of trigger point work, but I'm not a fan of gadgets and these sort of things that people are using. Not a fan. Anyhow, so that was, do I use Y strap? The third question. I got asked by Shreya's asked me a question about headaches. I love headaches. They're quite a controversial topic to talk about sometimes because they can throw up all sorts of different terminologies and length of times, and a lot of people suffer with them. We suffer, most of us suffer with a headache once a year. So this question was, I've had a headache for over a week. Is it a migraine? Little bit like red rag to a bull for me. I do an awful lot of talking and education on migraines particularly. Migraines, in my opinion, are one of the most overly diagnosed things in modern medicine. I genuinely think that medicine is dishing out migraine as a bit of a cop-out because they're struggling to find out what the actual problem is. And because it's such a well-documented problem, migraines that is, patients hang on to that diagnosis, much like they hang on to things like sciatica and lumbago and all these sort of terms. Patients hold on and cling on to those terms because we've used them for such a long time. They're relatable, they're easy to go to, they're easy to find information about online. But typically, sometimes they're not always correct, they're not always accurate diagnoses. And I think migraines is a massively misdiagnosed problem. Not that they're being missed, that they're being overly diagnosed. The majority of headaches that I see on a day-to-day basis are what I would call a cervicogenic headache. Cervico-neck-genic comes from, essentially, it basically means that the joints and the muscles of the neck are kind of referring a pain up and over the head. So my first question would be to Shreya, think very, very, very pragmatically about the headache. Is it more one-sided than the other? Is it a particular part of the head? Is it the front? Is it the back? Be really specific about where the headache is before you start trying to jump to a diagnosis. And then when you do work out where the pain and the headache's coming from, what time of day it is, I would probably go to a chiropractor or an osteopath for this type of diagnosis. Unfortunately, I don't think general practitioners are well versed enough to deal with headaches. I think they know an awful lot about migraines and they get taught an awful lot about migraines and the medication that's available, but I don't think that cervicogenic headaches, tension, cluster headaches, there's so many different types of headaches. I don't think they've got enough background information to kind of pick and choose and decipher between the lot of them. I would go for a diagnosis for a headache to a chiropractor and osteopath, and they might even be able to help treat it as well, which is a positive thing. So seeing someone like that would be quite useful. Like I say, guys, if you're viewing this and you're just tuning in and you want to throw a Q&A at me, you've got back pain, got a niggle, got an injury, got anything you want to throw at me, feel free. I'm going through these 5 questions. So I've just touched on why straps and why back pain is worse in the morning, and migraines. I've got 2 more questions to go through. Again, if anything crops up and you want to go through it, just give me a shout. Sky asked why I should use, why I keep testifying to using heat and not ice. It's a really good question. And I actually had this conversation with a patient probably about half an hour ago. Pharmaceutical companies make an awful lot of money out of heat products, and that's because heat, whilst it's on a specific area, increases blood flow, makes it feel really cozy, really comfortable, really nice. But as soon as you take the heat away, you're left with the same problem you had before you put the heat back on. So then you feel, okay, well, the heat made it feel better, so I need to put another heat pack on. And that's the way in which you're kind of trapped in this cycle where you keep spending money on heat products. Whereas ice typically reduces blood flow, reduces swelling, reduces inflammation, and allows the area to heal properly and actually start to recover. I firmly believe that ice is significantly better than heat in the majority of cases. Heat is a great way to warm a muscle or an area up. So for instance, before sport, heat is a great product to try and use before sport, because what it enables is the muscles to warm up, allows you to gain a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more elasticity for the muscles. Heat is great in that circumstance. Not great any other time, in my opinion. I use often the explanation of if you remember being when you were a kid, if you ever sprained your ankle or knew anyone that did, what would be the first thing your mum or your dad would put on it? It'd be an ice pack. It wouldn't be a heat pack. You'd go straight for the ice. And we need to treat our necks, backs, shoulders in exactly the same way, rather than trying to resort to a heat pack all over again. So hopefully, Sky, that answers why I prefer to use ice over using heat. And then my last question is from James. This came in this morning, and this is James, you're going to thank me for this one, mate. What's the funniest thing that's happened to me during treatment? I know what this is. This happened to me about 3, maybe 4 years ago. And it happened between me and an 82-year-old lady. I was treating her neck. She was face down. She's a regular patient. She's been in a few times. I think this was kind of like her 6th, 7th treatment. She was face down, and there's part of the lower part of the neck, the CT area, where I roll the head to one side with a bit of a push at the end. And she's more than happy with this. We've done this a couple of times. And we were just chatting. I mean, this woman is lovely. She's what, 5'4", Irish, very well spoken, just with an accent, and always comes in glasses. You know, she's the sort of woman you can imagine. She'd invite you around the house and make you a stew and talk at you for hours. I was doing this manipulation, this rolling the head to the one side with a little bit of a push at the end, and as her neck sort of went do-do-do-do and just cracked and popped, her head popped up off the table and called me the C word. And I was in fit tears for about 10 minutes. I could not stop laughing. I just didn't know how to react. And it was the first time I think I've ever been called the C word outside of a football changing room. And I was a little bit shocked. Got home, told my partner about this whole story, who's half Irish. And she just turned and said, "Yeah, that's quite normal." I was like, "What? It's not normal. It's just happened to me for the first time. Not entirely too sure how I should be taking it." And what she turned around and said, "Yes, it's like us sort of saying, 'Oh, for God's sake,' or bloody hell." It's their way of saying that. And I still couldn't wrap my head around it. Still to this day, it's the funniest thing that's ever happened to me in treatment. And I think it will be for a long time. I've had something come close to me in the last couple of weeks, but that's a story for another day. And yeah, it was just it's the funniest thing to date that's ever happened. So there you go. There's my 5 Q&A questions that I've had over the last week. Most of it is about touching on migraines and headaches and the Y-strap thing. The Y-strap thing is really interesting. Again, if you want me to talk any more about that, or the gadgets and the gizmos that are in my profession, happy to do that anytime. Otherwise, I'll do another Insta-live in about a month's time. I'll pick another topic, see what's going on. If there's any topics you want me to touch on or want me to go through, let me know. Otherwise, cheers for tuning in. Thanks guys, have a great evening, and I will see you soon.